I have failed. It's all you.
I'm ready. I can't go on.
Don't die for nothing.
I got this.
Forgot that my microphone was off. This is the Lorica region of... Where I'm in now is the old Lorica region. And in case you saw the crater yesterday, I can definitely tell a meteor that took out all the dinosaurs was there. And it looks very barren. As you can see, it looks like a huge crater hit the area. Probably the one that killed all the dinosaurs. Good. An airship has come to pick us up. First, I've got something. Holy shit.
Glaciamans 842 RG. Andoria, Queen of
That I know.
Concordia, was assassinated in the Militesi capital city amidst peace talks. In regards to this tragic event, the kingdom prepared a statement for all of Orients to hear, which claimed that Rubrum's Agito cadets were involved and publicly condemned them. In the same month, Concordia's provisional government formed an alliance with Milites. Behind a pretext of protection, the Azure Dragon Crystal was placed under the Empire's supervision.
Yeah, I'll bet it was.
The
Holy
Empire was
shit!
now in possession of the crystals from 3 of the 4 crystal states. Now Milites and Concordia made preparations
Fucking
to
ass crackers and
simultaneously
crap
invade
baskets.
Rubrum as allies.
Ooh. Fucking ass crackers and crap baskets.
The first battle of Judecca.
Looks like it's set in winter.
They accuse us of sending assassins after Queen Andoria and Imperial Marshal Cid because they believe we are unhappy with the terms of the truce. When such wild accusations are made and accepted, it does not say much about the laws of Orients.
How could this have come to pass? Wasn't there anything we could have done?
The question is, what was Class 0
That
doing
guy
during
is
all of this?
such-
They are the ones being
overdramatic.
accused, are they not?
Yes! Where is Class 0 now? If
Be
they had but
patient, dude.
testified before a tribunal, this would not be happening.
They have been reported missing inside Milites, but I hear they are back in...
Yes, they're back.
Reporting back, sir.
Submit your mission report. The Consortium may choose to open an inquiry.
You mean that's all you have to say? After everything we've just been through?
Just tell us. Why didn't you answer our transmissions?
We didn't receive any. Our communications couldn't reach you either.
What a load of crap, yo! You saying that all of our comms just died all at once, huh?
The Inquiry Board believes you may have intentionally cut off communications.
What?
Welcome back. You are free to rest until further notice. Let's go.
They certainly made the situation worse for us, that's for sure.
Without a doubt, Class 0 is to be held accountable for this turn of events. Still, if we're to regret our failures...
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous? Might I remind you, those cadets are your...
That's enough talk about Class 0. Everyone, we must focus on addressing the looming crisis that is unfolding before us.
True. The Milites Concordia Coalition force is preparing to invade our territory, even as we speak. If we don't take the appropriate measures...
We shall utilize the Verboten Eidolon.
What? But the Verboten Eidolons have not been allowed for use ever since the Great War.
You, more than anyone, must know why they were banned, Chancellor.
To begin with, sir, I don't mean to offend you, but there is not a single person alive who is capable of controlling Verboten Eidolons.
The decision was made by Lady Setsna.
The Lady Setsna? She's going to help us?
Can we assume, then, that Lady Setsna believes there to be a genuine threat to the Vermilion Bird territories?
Well, if that is the case, there is nothing more for us to debate. Is that correct?
This is truly ridiculous. Time really flies. It's...
Mother?
Checkup time. We can start with you.
Muttered
Succumb to
Isidore,
sorcery
as if
right
Eric's
now.
life force was encircling around the room in form. And was invisibly.
Nice to see you made it back from Milites.
Were you worried?
No, I wasn't worried. I had faith that you kids would be all right.
Mother. Am I okay?
Something wrong?
It's just... I've been having a lot of deja vu lately. And then Trey sort of scared me.
Really?
Oh, I have to go. Mother, could we talk later about my deja vu?
You're in perfect health, both body and mind. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe later.
What's the matter?
I know what happened to him.
Hey, you again? You gonna just ignore me with a sigh, yo? Huh. I bet you don't have any friends, do ya? Always in here reading, huh? Still ignoring me, yo?
What kind of book are you reading today?
Oh, caught your eye, did it? The Lexicon of Arcane Theory, Volume 78, is a superlative reference for novices and masters alike. It contains all you need to know about magic.
Free of the Peloton app.
No, hold up, yo. That's a dictionary.
And one in a set of 105. Am I to understand you've already read the first 78 volumes?
What are you implying? This is my sixth time through. What's the matter?
Well, I'll admit I was wrong. If you're that well read, then you don't need friends.
So you still take as a given that I have no friends?
Despite what Dr. Horatia says, I cannot dismiss Class Zero's actions. We are in this predicament because of them. And as Class Zero's commanding officer, don't think you're off the hook either.
Of course not. I accept full responsibility for their conduct.
Although having left the front lines some time ago, I take it one of the 4 champions of Rubrum can still fight. You will take part in the next mission, and once again bring glory. If you are able to lead our forces to victory, then I will pardon Class Zero for their recent transgressions.
You are too kind, Commandant. I will do all in my power to live up to your expectations.
Huh? What can a walking corpse like him do?
You know, sometimes you can be quite cruel. We all know that the Ice Reaper is a broken vessel. The best Kurasame can do is pass on his knowledge. Sending him onto the battlefield would merely add to the list of casualties.
I'll have him provide support for the l'Cie. Besides, I'm more concerned with what happens after the battle. It's about high time that we showed Dr. Horatia her proper place.
So you would have Class Zero and Kurasame die in battle just in order to oust Dr. Horatia?
The end of Class Zero will be the end of that woman as well. We will surely suffer great casualties in the coming battle, and it is more than likely that we will lose. Then, it would only be prudent to rid ourselves of those who might get in the way. I will not allow that woman to control the Consortium after the war.
All I ask is that you not involve the Chancellor and I in your schemes.
Cindy's been trying to tell everyone.
Spirit.
I'm glad he took our presents. You can't hurt Christmas, Mr.
For every hoo-ah, and bask in every hoo-bah. Though Mayor Mayhew did moan that Christmas was ruined, it was Lulu
You look well.
who stood to speak for the true spirit.
I'm glad he took our presents. You can't hurt Christmas, Mr. Mayor. Because it isn't about the gifts or the contest or the fancy light. And that's what Cindy's been trying to tell everyone. And me. I don't need anything more for Christmas than this right here. My family.
Then the Grinch heard a sound in the soul of the season. It slowly slid over the snow, singing. Without toys, treats, or tinsel and trappings, all whoos of all ages, of all sizes, were singing, with bells ringing. The Grinch had not stopped Christmas from coming. It came swifter, sweeter, and stronger than anyone in Whoville
We can
could
do it.
recall. Just imagine the perplexing puzzlement that now plagued the pondering Grinch. He simply stood still, struggling and straining. Oh, figured out isn't store-bought stuff. No. He scrambled to stop the sleigh from was a sweet 10 spectacular. He scooped up the whole sleigh and saved Cindy back to town like the wind. Seeing the sleigh sliding toward the city, soiled Santa suit, the Grinch said he was sorry. And he was fully forgiven by the fair-minded Who's. All the while, Martha was searching the sack on the sleigh. When she found the engagement ring, she returned it to a red-faced maid. Martha stood by her Grinchy sweetheart, who gleefully got all the town lights glowing gloriously again. Little Cindy, the who knew there was more to Christmas than credit cards, and more to the Grinch than growls, gave her furry friend a kiss.
Why do we sign every Stearns & Foster mattress? Because each one is so artfully constructed for exceptional qualities.
Or one requested by William Harding. This is the 51st Disney Long Story.
There, everyone was exchanging gifts.
Merry Christmas, Martha May.
The future mayor scoffed at the angel and the sack.
You jerk, for that idioter's gift.
Teacher Miss Rue asked the Grinch to take off the bag.
Give me my babies right now. Isn't that very... nasty? Or, for lack of a better word.
A Little Golden Book, The Grinch Who Likes Christmas by Ted.
Long. At least the Grinch had one good friend, his dog.
Well, there isn't much I can really do, but I suppose that even though Christmas is over, but that's not going to stop me from reading the movie storybook version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Louise Gickow. It takes a while to load. La.
Oh, you're that money-grubbing Carla chick, aren't you?
Money grubbing? I prefer the term blazing merchant.
You know, with all the stunts you've been pulling, I'm surprised you haven't gotten in trouble with the administration. You know you're not supposed to be selling your wares here.
The tribunes and quaestors are all oblivious. It's not hard to pull the wool over their eyes.
Oh, Carla. This is a rare sight. Are you friends with Class 0 now?
But of course, sir. I'm doing exactly what you taught me. I help people with no thought of reward for myself.
I'm impressed, Carla. Such a wonderful attitude to go with your excellent grades. You Class 0 kids should follow her example.
Huh. Adults are such pushovers. Well, let me know if you ever need anything. It's yours for the right price.
Get a good look, 9. That there was a monster.
Yeah, a real gill-grubbing goblin, yo.
Gill-grubbing goblin. Isn't that just unique? Anyway, let's get on to reading. It was 3 days, 16 hours, and 32 minutes before Christmas, and every who in Whoville who wasn't trimming a tree or decking a hall was out shopping, including Cindy Lou Who and her father Lulu Who. Lou loved Christmas shopping, all Whos did, except for Cindy Lou, who, like many young people, was beginning to question things. And one of the big things she was questioning was the true meaning of the holiday. Was Christmas really about buying and giving presents, or was there more to it than that? Cindy Lou didn't need or want anything from Santa Claus. In fact, the idea of buying someone another snoozle foam just didn't seem very important. But Cindy Lou's brothers, Drew and Stu, knew exactly what was important. They decided to play hooky from school and climb Mount Crumpet with Junie and Christina in search of some mistletoe. "Where are we?" asked Junie as they tramped up the mountain, past the old Whoville dump. "I think we should go back." "What are you, afraid of the Grinch?" she said with a laugh. Of course they all were. Every Who in Whoville was afraid of the Grinch. He had a terrible reputation. And he lived, as they say, in a vast dark cave at the very tippy top of Mount Crumpet, exactly where the teens were headed. "There's no such thing as the Grinch," said Junie. The furry green figure behind the periscope snickered when he heard this, for he made it his business to know everything that went on Mount Crumpet, and he had a whole slew of gizmos and devices to help him spy and keep Mount Crumpet blessedly free of Whos. "For Whos, one Grinch," he muttered to his faithful dog Max. "I'll take those odds." When they arrived at last at the top of the mountain, wheezing and out of breath, the Who teens found a door set into the rock. Beneath the door lay a mat, an unwelcome mat, that is. "It doesn't look like anyone lives here," said Stu, who was in a hurry to get back to Whoville. But he was wrong. The Grinch lived there. The door creaked open. A hideous monster sprang at them. The teens raced down the mountain, screaming at the top of their lungs. They never could say exactly what they saw, except that whatever it was, it certainly had a lot of teeth. The news was soon all over town. The teens had experienced their first ever Grinch sighting. At least that's what they thought they saw. Nobody in Whoville was pleased to hear this. It was, after all, only 3 days till the Christmas Eve jubilation. Lulu Who just shrugged it off. "You know how kids are," he told Mayor August Mayhew. "I'm sure the kids didn't see any Grinch." The mayor just shuddered. But Cindy Lou wasn't frightened. She was curious. "Dad, who's the Grinch?" she asked on the way to school. "We'll talk about that later," said her father. "You've got to get to class." Cindy had asked a very good question, even if she didn't get an answer. Just who was the Grinch? Some Whos thought he was a Who who'd gone bad. Others thought, well, who knows? Most Whos didn't like to think about him at all. But every Who in Whoville was certain of this. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. And Cindy Lou Who was the one Who was determined to find out the reason why. Whoville Elementary School was not so very different from the school you go to, except that the most important subject they studied all year round was, you guessed it, Christmas. They studied from the Book of Who, where rules and regulations for holiday celebrations were set down in black and white and red and green. It was time for the students at Whoville Elementary School to announce the themes they had chosen for their holiday reports. The origins of Santa Claus, said one Who girl. Gift wrapping oddly shaped presents, said another Who. Christmas wreaths, how many are too many, said a Who boy. The Grinch and why he doesn't like Christmas, said Cindy Lou. At that, every window shade in the room snapped up, every jaw dropped open. Cindy Lou Who, gasped the teacher, Miss Roo Who, we do not discuss that sort of thing in school. That very day, Miss Roo Who called Mr. Lulu Who. She demanded he come to his daughter's classroom promptly after school. Mr. Lou Who, your daughter, Miss Roo Who spluttered. She said, oh my. Miss Roo Who was so scandalized, words failed to come to her lips. Lulu Who nodded sorrowfully. I think I know what she said, Miss Roo Who. I'm sure we can straighten this thing out. He turned to his daughter. Cindy, come help out your old man at the post office, and we'll have a talk. You see, Lou explained as he stood behind the counter at the post office, helping the first in a long line of Who's get their packages posted in one heck of a rush. Helping the first in a long line of Who's get their packages posted in one heck of a rush. The Grinch is a Who, well, he's not really a Who, he's more of a what, that doesn't like Christmas. Oh, Postmaster Lou Who, cried a voice from the line. It was Mayor Mayhew. Uh-oh, said Lou. He turned to Cindy. I'm pretty busy right now. Would you mind throwing out in some mail on the back until we can finish our talk? Cindy Lou didn't mind. She went in the back and started sorting mail and putting it into slots. It was a task someone else had already started, but that someone was putting the mail into the wrong slots. And while he was at it, he was sending out fake jury duty notices, chain letters, and nasty notes. Who was that someone? That someone was the Grinch. You see, the Grinch didn't always stay up in his cave on Mount Crumpet. Sometimes he came down to Whoville, cleverly disguised, to make all kinds of Grinchy mischief. When Cindy Lou caught sight of him, she was so flabbergasted, why, she fell smack into the stamping machine. She was about to be crushed flat, when, against his better judgment, the Grinch surprised himself. He rescued her. He pulled her out of the stamping machine. Then, before he could leave well enough alone, he wrapped her up like a Christmas present and went on his merry way. Wasn't Lou surprised when he came in the back in search of his daughter and heard a familiar voice calling to him from a pile of parcels? After Lou unwrapped his daughter, he and Cindy went home. There they were not in the least surprised to find Miss Betty Lou Who up on the roof, hanging strings of Christmas lights. You see, each year in Whoville there was a Christmas lights competition, and each year Betty's neighbor, Martha May Whovier, won the competition. Some Who said it was because Martha May who judged the contest, was sweet on Martha May. Some Whos were right. Nevertheless, Betty was sure that this year she would defeat Martha for the first time ever. The Lou Who house was totally festooned with Christmas lights. It was a dazzling, spectacular, genuine megawatt tour de force. On the outside, at least. The inside was another story. Cindy Lou peered in the front door. But it's dark inside, she said. Feel your way around, dear, called Mrs. Lou Who from up on the roof. And could you be Mommy's little helper, and bring me that light bulb from the refrigerator, too? Shaking her head sadly, Cindy entered the darkened house. The next day, Cindy commenced her report on the Grinch. She started with an interview with the Who Biddy sisters, Clarinella and Rose. The sisters, Cindy Lou knew, had raised the Grinch from when he was very small. How did the Grinch come to you? Cindy Lou asked. For the interview, she had brought along her tape recorder to record everything that was said. He came all the way who babies come, Clarinella reminisced softly. On calm nights, they drift down from the sky on little Pumbracellas. It was 40 years ago this Christmas Eve. We were having our annual Hula Day celebration. It was morning before anyone realized he was out there, the poor dear. We knew right away he was special. He was a wonderful little whatever he was, and we raised him like any other Who child. Cindy Lou went on to interview Martha May Whovier and Mayor Mayhew. She found out something that made her very, very sad and a little bit mad. She found out that all the Whos who went to school with the Grinch, especially young Mayhew, had been very mean to him because he wasn't like them. He was different. Only one who had been kind. And that Who was Martha. When the Grinch was 8 years old, he had been quite sweet on Martha, it seems. He had made a special Christmas present for her. It was an angel that he made of scrap metal and parts he found at the Whoville dump. He was very proud of it. So that Christmas Eve, the Grinch went to school with a paper bag on his head, the angel in his hands, and Martha May in his heart. Miss Ruhu made the Grinch take off the bag. All the children laughed and pointed. You see, the Grinch had tried to shave off his green fur because the other kids had made fun of it. The Grinch's face was covered with nicks and cuts. He looked, well, even worse than usual. I don't know what's worse, the hack job he did on his face or the hack job he did with his gift, sneered young Mayhew, who had come with store-bought gifts for Martha May. In that moment, the Grinch knew he could never fit in with the Whos. He was ugly and green, and his present was junky, and Martha May would never be his. So he threw the angel at Mayhew's face. Okay, so I made that up, but still, it's a bit more deserving. He ran for the door, knocking over the Christmas tree and making a mess of the classroom. He never came home that night, Clarinella said, shaking her head sadly. In fact, the mayor also recalled, that was the last time we ever saw him. No thanks to you, thought Cindy Lou. And that was when she hatched her plan. The next day was Christmas Eve, the day of the annual Christmas jubilation. Every year, the Whos elected someone to be the holiday chairmeister. Cindy Lou nominated the Grinch. At first, every Who in Whoville was horrified, mostly the mayor because he wanted the job. But Cindy stood her ground. After all, she said, reading to them from the Book of Who, the cheermeister is the one who deserves a backslap or a toast. It goes to the soul at Christmas who needs it most. And I believe that soul is the Grinch. Cindy Lou looked up at the assembled crowd. And if you're the Whos I hope you are, you will too. At first, all that could be heard was sniffles. Then the crowd burst into applause. It was settled. The Grinch would be that year's cheermeister, but who was going to tell him? Cindy climbed Mount Crumpet and asked the Grinch to be cheermeister, and the Grinch, with a little bit of coaxing from his faithful dog Max, accepted the honor. With a little more help from Max, the Grinch dressed in his holiday best for the event. He tried to be a good sport, really he did. He put on the sweater the Who Biddy sisters knitted him, which was 5 sizes too small. He sat in the chair of cheer. He judged the pudding cook-off. He led the Christmas conga line. He did vigorous exercise. He blessed the children. He led yet another Christmas conga line. He drank galleons of Christmas nog, and then it came time for the present pass-it-on. Hold on. The Grinch could not help but remember the day. But unfortunately, no one had told the Grinch he needed to bring a present, and that, the Whos learned, was a very big mistake. Of course, the mayor used the occasion to give Martha May a diamond ring and a new car. The Grinch could not help but remember that day back in Whoville Elementary School, the day of his great humiliation. And in a way, He was really reliving that day all over again. Well, as you can imagine, it was more than the Grinch could bear. "That's what it's always been about, isn't it?" he raved. Gifts, gifts, gifts. Well, let me tell you what happens to your gifts. They all end up coming to me. And your garbage to the dump. The hushed Who's watched as the Grinch spun around and headed for Mount Crumpet. But before he did, a fearful, frightful, fiendish idea stole into his furry green head. Slowly he turned around. "Oh, I'm a terrible cheermeister. I forgot to light the tree." And with that, he lit the tree all right. He set the great Christmas tree in Whoville Square on fire. Later, back on Mount Crumpet, "I've got to do something," the Grinch muttered as he paced the floor of his cave. "I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how?" And that's when he came up with an ingenious plan, the crowning achievement of his glorious career as a Christmas kabosher. First, he needed a reindeer. He looked around. No reindeer. Then he caught sight of Max. Max shrank away. "With some antlers, you'll do fine," the Grinch said with a grin. Next, he sewed up a costume. It was red with white trim. Can you guess what it was? A Santa Claus suit, of course. Then he hitched up Max to a sleigh, and he was off. While the Who's down in Whoville were fast asleep in their beds, the fake Santa Claus stole down their chimneys into their houses and took all their presents and all their decorations and stuffed them up their Who chimneys and piled them into his sleigh. He cleaned out every Who Christmas tree. He even stole their stockings. It was at the very last house, at Cindy Lou Who's house, while he was stuffing the tree up the chimney, that he almost got caught. Cindy Lou herself came downstairs at that very moment. She stood there, rubbing her sleepy little eyes. "Santa, what are you doing with our tree?" she asked. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side," the Grinch lied. "I'm taking it home to my workshop to fix it." "Santa," Cindy yawned, "don't forget the Grinch. I know he's mean and hairy and smelly, but I think he's actually kind of sweet." Hearing this, the Grinch gulped. When the Who's awoke that Christmas morning, they were in for a shock. Everything, their presents, their trees, their decorations, their holiday food, was gone. In their jammies and slippers, they came together in the town square. "It was the Grinch!" cried Mayor Mayhew. "Cindy Lou Who, I hope you're proud of what you've done." Cindy Lou shrank from the mayor's gaze, and a tear fell down her cheek. But Lulu Who stepped up and put his arm around his daughter. "Well, if she isn't proud, then I am," he said. "I'm glad the Grinch took our presents, because presents are not what Christmas is all about. Gifts and contests and colored lights. I guess that's what Cindy's been trying to tell everyone. Christmas is about being together with our families and loved ones. And that's all." From atop Mount Crumpet, the Grinch peered down at the Who's. He expected to hear a wail of woe, but instead, what did he hear? He heard the sound of Who's singing a sweet Christmas carol. The Grinch hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It had come anyway. At that very minute, Cindy Lou Who was coming up Mount Crumpet to ask the Grinch to join the Who's celebration. In spite of himself, the Grinch felt something warm swell in his chest. What was it? Can you guess? No one is quite sure, but the Who's think it might have been his heart. His cold, hard little Grinchy heart just might have started to grow. The Grinch, Max, and Cindy Lou flew down the hillside in the Grinch's sleigh, the Who's Christmas presents and decorations and stockings and food jouncing in the great big bag behind them. They came to a screeching halt in the middle of Whoville Square. It's taking a while to load. "Well, what have we here?" asked Officer Houlihan. "You got me, officer. I did it," the Grinch confessed. "I am the Grinch who stole Christmas, and I am sorry." takes a while to load. But the Whos were in no mood to punish the Grinch, excepting the mayor, whom no Who listened anyhow. And that Christmas Day ended up being the Whos and the Grinch had ever known. Merry Grinchmas to all. I'm sorry, Seth, but you just missed the stream. Goodbye.